Welcome everybody. So I want to show you how to make a template for a vase like this, where it's flat and skinny all the way around this way, and then it has an interesting shape going that way. So when I do this, like you can see, this one is the template that I created for this vase. So whatever you create on this template is exactly what you're going to end up doing for your vase. So it can be tall and vertical, it can be wide, it can have curves or smooth edges, it can be zigzaggy. It's kind of whatever you want. I like to start with graph paper though, just because it makes it easier for me visually to figure out like where I want stuff. So you start by folding it in half, and I don't care whether you fold it in half vertical or horizontal, either way is fine. And then you got to kind of decide, like, what do you want your shape to look like? So I think since for this one, I did kind of a like curvy shape on the top, and then I did a zigzag, I'm going to kind of combine those two things. So I think I want there to be a curve on the bottom, and I'm going to start the curve kind of here, and I'm going to use my graph paper to kind of be like, okay, I want the end of my curve to be right there. And then now I just got to connect the dots. So I'm going to use the natural curve of my wrist to make this nice and curvy. If I tried to do it like this way, it generally doesn't come out as neatly as it does when you use the natural curve of your wrist. So now that I've got my curve, and if you need to, if you want to find something that is already a circle in our classroom and you want to trace it, totally fine. Now I got to decide, where do I want the, rest of my vase to be? So like on this one, I added in points, and then I used a straight edge to kind of figure out like how to make it nice and straight. So I think I'm going to go with, I'm going to have it kind of flare out a bit. And I'll take my straight edge, which just happens to be a slabbing stick, and I'm going to line up my dots and draw my shape. And then because I am using graph paper, I'm just going to go straight across right there. So once you have this, then you're going to cut it open, right? And I've got this folded in half so that when I do this, both sides are going to be exactly the same. Like this. Okay. So now that I open it, this is the shape that I would be. Make sure that you have a wide enough flat spot on the bottom that your vase is going to be stable. If you join your curve like way down here, that would make it really, really wobbly, and that could cause you some problems later. So do your best to kind of make sure that there's a stable base. The other thing you want to watch out for is the very top. So you want to make sure that you leave enough area for there to be a good size opening. Now, this one that I'm cutting right now and the one that I just cut, those ones have a really, really wide top. So totally fine, right? But like this one right here, I kind of shaped it a couple times. Like I started off making this real skinny shape, and if I did that, my opening would be really small and it would be really hard to do. So I just kind of adjusted where I wanted stuff on my paper. And as long as I cut it to what I think is the one that, as long as I cut the one that I want, it really doesn't matter if there's extra marks on there. You just have to make sure that you're cutting the right one. So I added in a couple curves to this one, and I added in a skinnier top like this. Now, like I said, this top is actually still pretty skinny, but see how it's like six across? I wouldn't want to go any smaller than this. Like I wouldn't want to do something that's smaller than that. It would be really difficult to do. So now that I have my shape, this is going to be the shape of my side like this. Okay. I would need to do the next step is, you know, making sure that it's cut out. But I also need this flat piece right here, okay? So in general, you can make it as thick as you want. But for this particular project, I want you to make it 2 of our slabbing sticks thick. And I know we have some really skinny slabbing sticks, and then we have ones that look more like this. Do the ones that look like this, okay? So line them up real close to the edge. And if you have one person at your table who just like made a really good set of these, then you can share this one and just all your vases will be the same thickness, and that would be okay. But you want to support really well so it's not like shifting around as you're doing this. And for me, I'm just going to trace this all the way across because I know I'm going to need a really long piece to go all the way along the edges of my vases. So I want to make sure I have a bunch of these so I can tape them together. Okay. All right. Because I need these to go, you know, from here to here and all the way along here. In the case of this one, I would want it to go all the way from here to here. So you want to be able to kind of, you know, figure out what you need. Now, like this one, I needed a really long one. So this short piece right here wouldn't go all the way. So when I made this earlier, I taped 2 of these together. So that way I could go all the way around, right? Now, you could just start with this and go for it. But for this particular project, we are going to make a maquette out of this paper right here, the cardstock, because I really want you to see what it's going to look like when you're done before you actually create it. So we're going to take one of your things that you made and we're going to make an actual, version of it. So you would start with making it the shape that you want out of your graph paper. And then you're going to trace it on to the thicker cardstock. And then once you've traced it real nice and neat all the way around, you can use a pencil. Pen just shows better on video. Once you've traced it, you're going to end up needing 2 of these, right? Now, I already cut 2 of these out, and I did actually use these as my template, so they're a little bit curly from the moisture of the clay. Okay, so you want these to be exactly the same, right? And you want to have enough of this that you can go all the way around a straight side. Now, like I said, if you're doing like this one, you would want it to be able to go from this corner all the way down there. And then you'd want a short piece that would be able to go from here all the way to here. So you would have 2 of these pieces cut to the shape that you want. But for this one right now, I'm going to figure out how much I need. And I'm going to start by laying this up next to this, and I'm going to just test it out, right? I'm going to follow along the edge and be like, okay, let me go all the way around and make sure it's nice and matched up all the way around. And then when I get to the end, I'm going to put a little mark right there, and I'm going to say, okay, so I need this length. And I'm just going to trim this extra off. So you can see I already taped a couple of them together. And then I'm also going to need a piece for my bottom as well. So I'm going to kind of do the same thing. But since this one's not a curve, I can just lay it flat and be like, okay, it's going to go right here. So let me do like that. And if you need to use a ruler or a straight edge to make sure that this is straight, then do that. Okay, so now for actually joining it together, I want you to actually try out your template. I want you to see, like, what is it going to be like when you join it together, okay? So we have a bunch of the masking tape, so use what you need. Don't wimp out on the tape, okay? So I'm going to start with this right here, and then I'm going to add on the next bit from the other side. So I'm gonna start with the bottom and then fold it over like that. Now I am gonna end up joining it on this side when I actually make it, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and join that right now. When we actually build it out of clay, we're not gonna join these two pieces together right now because we're gonna be like beveling and all that kind of stuff. So if your tape sticks over a little bit, just make sure that you crinkle it in. You don't wanna give yourself any difficult areas just because you got extra tape. So either cut it off or crinkle it in. Now this next bit is a little bit more tricky. So you are going to match up this edge. You're going to take a little piece of tape. You're going to stick it on one side, and then you're going to match it up and support from the inside and just kind of stick the tape on there, okay? And you're going to do that every inch or so all the way around until you get all of the pieces on there, okay? So stick it on the flat side, line it up, support from the inside. So I'm pushing against my fingers on the inside like that. And you're gonna end up going all the way around, okay? So once you have that, you're gonna have your basic shape, right? And you can add on the other side as well. Now, do whatever is easiest for you, as long as you're taping significant portions of it. You just don't want to wimp out on the tape, like, because it makes it way harder to match up if you're like wimpy on the tape. So I'm going to start this side now. While this is still open, I'm going to go ahead and get this started so you can see what it looks like that. Okay. Right, so you're basically building your whole vase out of the template first. And once you have your template all taped together, you're gonna come show me and I will give you any pointers you need and approve your design. So go build your maquette. All right, thanks everybody.